Okay. Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Manchakalpatarubhyascha Vipa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we are continuing with Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We are beginning chapter 9. And last week we discussed quite extensively this point here made in the first verse of chapter 9, this word anusuyave. Krishna is telling Arjuna that why am I giving this knowledge to you? This chapter 9, is exclusively dealing with devotion. Why are you qualified for this? Could I have your phone, Didi? Would you mind? Why are you qualified for this? Because you are non-envious. You know, this is your quality, that you are free from envy. And we discussed this quite a lot, and this is mentioned also in Bhagavad Gita. Our Gurudev, you know, one thing I'd also like to add to that discussion is our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj. You know, he gave so many amazing talks, you know, of course, but there were a few occasions which really struck me, in the sense that I felt he'd been, in the way in which he presented and began the talk, I was given the impression, or even in some cases he'd directly say, that he'd been preparing this for days. He'd been contemplating this point for days. You know, how can I present this to the devotees, this very important point? You know, how can I convey this in a way that they can really take it to heart? And there are a few talks like that I was present for, and I had that impression, or even, as I said, one or two times even said directly, I've been thinking about this for the last 3 days. You know, it was, you know, that was the kind of care that he had, and the deep feeling that he had in trying to help us, you know. And so one of those talks was this point about envy, you know, and how fundamental it is for our successful practicing lives, you know, to be free from this, and that this is also the starting point of Krishna consciousness. You know, envy, we may have different ways of thinking about envy, but in a broad sense, it's anything which means that we are at the center and Krishna is not in the center. You know, you see that also in Srila Prabhupada's writings I've come across a few times. In some surprising context, they'll say this is due to envy. You know, and I believe he one of the things he says is, you know, animal slaughter, that's a type of envy. You know? Anywhere where we're putting ourselves in the center, right? We're unable to appreciate the value of others. That's an expression of envy. So the foundation of Krishna consciousness is realizing that we're not the main character, you know, but we're a supporting character. You know, we're you know, Lila is not something that we have. You know, the Lila is Krishna's Lila. It's Krishna's show. It's the Krishna channel, right? And if we can be a blade of grass, we can be a particle of soil there. You know, that is our everything. You know, this is the prayer of Uddhava, right? Asamaho charanarenu dushama hamsam vrindavane kamapi gulmalato shadinam yaduschajam swajanam arjapatam jahitva bejor mukunda paravim shuti biri migyam. You know, this is the prayer, the earnest aspiration of Sri Uddhava. You know, that if I can have a position as a blade of grass, so that the foot dust of those divine damsels of Vrindavan, you know, that can shower upon me, then I will be supremely blessed. You know, that will be my everything. So this is the real mood where we feel the value of this. You know, we feel the value of this to such an extent that we are happy to have the smallest connection, least connection. This is true devotion. All right, so going back to our verse here.
Vishaka Didi?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to invoke the chats if you're not able to see them.
Yeah, I
About
can't see very well in the
that,
phone here.
that's why I thought I would. Sorry, I hate interrupting you. I think it's like the most rude, horrible thing to interrupt a sadhu when they're on a flow. But you had, you know, you were pausing on to the next thing, so I was reflecting on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Um, that Marie was saying that she said, interesting, I would have used that definition for pride, not envy. And then Priyahita comments, is not pride a true form of envy?
Well, I mean, if you're going to be more specific, then perhaps you could say pride. But in a general sense, you know, the envy is that we want to be in the center, right? That we cannot tolerate. This is a broad understanding of. Okay, Marie's saying something here. Envy is a form of pride. You know, in a broad, you know, in a very broad sense, what is the root of envy, right? That we want to be in the center, right? And we cannot tolerate that others are in the center. We're unable to appreciate the value of others. Now, this is the main idea. And so then that you know will play out in different ways. You know, I don't know if that's helpful at all. Any comment?
It's just a difference in language usage.
Okay.
Because pride is, for us, pride is putting ourselves, trying to take what's God's, and envy is usually trying to take or wanting to take what God has given to somebody else. So they're just sort of, you know, and pride is said to be the first sin that all others stem from. So it sounds like it's just kind of like the language usage of the two words is switched. So it's a thing to note.
Okay. Another thing is that, you know, I would say that pride isn't necessarily a bad thing, but perhaps arrogance, you know, because there's also we also use the word pride in a healthy sense, you know, that we are proud to be servants of Krishna, you know, we are proud to be connected with our guru. It's also like the word ego, right? That, you know.
Let he who boasts boast in the Lord. Yes, you have to use it the right way.
Right, right. But this point about envy is quite interesting because it's, you know, it's mentioned in some places that you know, all of our vices or, you know, bad qualities, they can all be channeled in some way in a healthy sense, in a spiritual sense, except for envy. You know, these, you know, what's widely discussed are the 6 enemies of Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Mada, Matsarja, lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. And it's mentioned that all of these qualities, you know, they all have a positive expression. They can all be channeled in some positive way, except for envy, matsarja. So it is considered to be the worst. But yes, I mean, a lot of these things, they come down to semantics, you know, how we're choosing to define them. Okay, so going back to our text here. So this verse number 2, it's a very wonderful verse describing the nature of devotion, of bhakti, the king of secrets, the king of knowledge, supreme, pure, and imperishable. It is known by direct realization, by one eager to serve me. It is the perfection of religion and very easy to practice. This is quite an extraordinary thing, that simultaneously it is the perfection of religion. It recommends the acme of religion, spirituality, but at the same time, it is very easy. You know, it is very simple. You know? And of course, you know, what is easy, you know, that can be understood in different ways, you know, but in the sense that there's not any special ability, there's not any special knowledge, you know, it doesn't require so much brain power or the ability to practice so much austerity and asanas and all of this, renunciation. That is not required, but a simple direct offering of the heart. So in that sense, and as we also touched upon last week, for this reason, in some circles, you know, kind of like generic Vedic scholars, you know, they will see bhakti as something for the ignorant people, for the lower people. So this is quite an extraordinarily wonderful thing, that in one sense it is very simple, and at the same time it represents the height of religion, and the highest attainment of the soul. So it is a wonderful thing. But then on the other hand, of course, to give one's heart, to give up one's ego, is very difficult. And some persons, they may be ready to go through so much austerity and so much challenge and so on, but they cannot give up their ego. That is the most difficult thing ultimately. But in terms of practice, it is a simple thing. And especially in this age of Kali Yuga, right? It is this very simple practice of Harinam, Harinam Sankirtan, the simple practice of chanting the holy names of the Lord, right? What could be more simple than that? So from that perspective, it is very simple. But then there's also accompanying that, right? Trinada Pisa Nichena, Tadoriva Sahishuna, Amanina Manadena Kirtania, to be humble as a blade of grass, to be tolerant as a tree, to give all honor to others without accepting for oneself. Then that is very difficult, actually. That is very difficult. But in principle, it is a simple thing. In principle, is a simple thing. And one interesting point Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions, and I believe he's maybe referencing Bhaktivinoda Thakur, is he says that if someone, this quality of simplicity is actually very wonderful. There's one line that our gurus quote, Gorar Shiksha, no, Shorol Hoibe, Gor Shiksha, Bujibo Pade, something like that. That if one's heart is simple, and this word Shoral, it is also sometimes translated as sincere, but more often is simple. If one's heart is simple, they can appreciate Mahaprabhu's teachings. Simplicity of heart, without so much complexity of the brain, the intellect. But one point that Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentions is that it is possible that if a neophyte Vaishnava, like a very beginner Vaishnava at a very beginner level, if they get the association of a Param Vaishnava, an Uttam Vaishnava, higher level Vaishnava, they can bypass the Madhyama phase, the middle phase, simply through their, and this was something our Gurudev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, used to emphasize. He said it so many times, everything will be revealed in your heart. Not necessary to know so much. He would often say it's not necessary to know a Ganges full of verses, but through the spirit of Sharanagati, surrender, and service to the Vaishnavas, everything will be revealed within your heart. Not necessary to know so much, to have so much, to do so much, but that giving of the heart, and that mood of service to the Vaishnava, that mood of surrender, this is the real thing. And so then this other point is very interesting too, that the beginner Vaishnava, they can jump to the highest level if they have that simplicity of heart and that real mood of surrender. And he also, Srila Maharaj also mentioned how the Madhyama phase, the middle phase of the practitioner, is a little dangerous, because in the middle phase, it's a phase of getting into the conception, the siddhanta. Like there's some study, there's some development of understanding of the teachings, and it's a little, of course, it's a very difficult thing, because this is generally required in order to consolidate our faith, right? And this is also mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? The Siddhanta Bolia na, what is it? Siddhanta Bolia na ulas. Do not be lazy to understand the teachings of Siddhanta. Kaviraj Goswami mentions this in our scripture, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Do not be lazy to understand the teachings, because by doing so, one's heart, one's faith will become more strong. So this, this point is made, and this is, generally what we're advised. But at the same time, it's a little dangerous, because in that phase, one can also go too far in that direction. The attraction of gyan, the knowledge, the intellect, all of that. It's a little bit of a risky game. So it is a very tricky thing. And ultimately, all we can rely upon is our true sincerity of heart, right? What is the famous verse? Bhagavad Gita. Sincerity is invincible. Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tatagachati. That one who, as Srila Maharaj renders it, sincerity is invincible. One who earnestly desires to do good, they will never be defeated. So ultimately, we can only rely on that, and having a genuine connection with the Vaishnava. Having a genuine connection with the Vaishnava. That is something that I feel so safe, to have that. And Gurudev, he gave this example once that of a horse, right? That a horse that is tied to their master, right, may have some space to run off a little this way and run off that way, or you could also say a dog, right? A dog on a leash. But you can never run too far away. There's only so far that you can get, And I feel that type of safety net in the connection that we have with Srila Govinda Maharaj, that, our gurus, they are giving us that safety net. We know we can't go too far off. And there's also this verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita saying, glorious is the master who will pull back, like their disciple who's gone astray. Glorious is the master who will grab them by the hair and bring them back. So this is really the only safe position to have a place in the heart of a Vaishnava. Then we know there's only so far that we can go off track, before they will bring us back in. So to have a place in the heart of a Vaishnava, that is our greatest wealth. Then we can think, oh, I won't worry too much. Maybe I'll get into some nonsense, here and there. It's okay, I know my guru will bring me back. This is also part of the mood of confidence in the Lord's protection. In the, one of the limbs of Sharanagati, limbs of surrender. The Lord will take care of us. I was thinking yesterday, and Gurudev also mentioned this example of the cowherd boys in Vrindavan, right? They have this firm faith in Krishna's protection. And there's this incident when they're going to climb, and they come across this huge serpent demon, right? Aghasura. And and he's so big that you can't exactly see what he is. He's got, looks like he could be some type of a playground feature. He's got like his huge fangs and this big gaping hole, and this very, very interesting entity. And and so the cowherd boys, they're like kind of poking around this giant serpent and peering inside, and it is looking quite questionable. There's like this horrible, nasty smelling vapors coming from the mouth, so it's looking a little dubious, but they're very curious, and they're like kind of discussing, should we go in, should we not go in? And then they finally say, let's just go in and check it out. And then they say, if anything goes wrong, Krishna will come and save us. Krishna will come and save us. So they just walk right into the belly of this giant serpent demon, and they think, anything goes wrong, Krishna will save us. So Gurudev mentioned, this is an example of the spirit of surrender. We may get ourselves into all kinds of situations. We'll think, oh, Krishna will take care, Gurudev will take care of us. So to have a genuine heart connection with the Vaishnava, that is our most precious jewel. It is our most precious possession. There was also something in the chat that popped up. Could, could you tell me what that was? Okay, and what was it that I see Radhana Rupini is raising her hand. Tungarasa is saying, how can we have a... But you had another question, Tungarasa, and now you're bringing up another one. You know. Okay, well, let's have Radhana Rupini then, please, Didi.
Dhanavad, Didi. First, I want to say you're such a wonderful diehard devotee. I can't believe you're in a car. But
it's a nice car.
but just everything you're saying reminds me of this story. I'm sorry, my memory is not so fantastic, but it's deep in there about this devotee who was, I think he had a Bhagavad Gita and he was crying. And then Lord Chaitanya came out and asked him, oh, why are you crying? You can't even read or something. And he said, because to understand that Arjuna, Krishna is the chariot driver of Arjuna. And it's such a profound, deep, he's very humble and absolutely no gyan. I don't remember the story so well, but I just remember that part.
Yes, that's in is Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, when Mahaprabhu's in South India, and yes, a very, very beautiful Leela. He can barely read, but his guru instructed him to read Bhagavad Gita, and he's crying every day. He's reading, and the local people are. Yes, perhaps sometimes I've heard it said like that. I don't know if it says that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but sometimes it's told like that. And local people are laughing at him, and Mahaprabhu's recognizing his sincerity, but asking, what is it that you're seeing, or what, when you're reading that's bringing out such emotion? Because you can't, I know, you're almost illiterate, well, please, tell me. And so he says like this, well, my guru ordered me to read, so I'm reading. And when I'm reading, I'm just thinking about this, when I'm going through that, how merciful is the Lord, how affectionate, how loving is the Lord, that he's become the chariot driver of his devotee. And yes, this is the other side of surrender also. It is another notable point that, there's this fear surrounding surrender. But if one can actually take that path wholeheartedly, then the other side of the coin is the Lord will also surrender. He will become the taxi driver of his devotee. How loving is that? How loving. How wonderful. What could be more wonderful? Yes. Let's see. I don't know how we're doing for time.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay. Okay. Well, anyone else want to bring up anything, or should we read a little bit more? And there were some questions, but Tungarasa, you've asked several questions. You have to pick one. One question that's burning in your heart.
I was just thinking about that for the last days especially, and I wanted to ask this question, and now you brought it up by yourself, so it was like a response I felt.
Okay. Beautiful.
And also I wanted to comment or say this curiosity of this Krishna's friends. Is it not the same curiosity as Jiva jump into this Maya world?
the jiva jump into this mind? Well, we cannot compare the two things.
Because we also heard from Govinda Maharaj and maybe, I don't know, it's heard, I think from Govinda Maharaj that he says that it was out of curiosity. This it's
Well, I mean,
yeah.
one thing that we have to remember whenever we're hearing about Krishna-lila is Jnane Prayasham Udapasya Namanta Eva. This, you know this verse, right, Didi? In Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Jnane Prayasham, it means whatever knowledge you have, throw it away. When you're going to approach this higher thing, whatever preconceptions, whatever experience, whatever understand you have experience relative to this plane, it's not relevant here. So if we hear that the cowherd boys of Vrindavan are curious, we should immediately think this is something categorically different from the curiosity of souls such as ourselves. These are two completely, this is why, you know, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is hammering so much, you know, this Pujala Ragapata Gaurava Bhange. We are worshiping that higher plane from a posture, with a posture of respect. This is above. You know, we had a long discussion about this in one of our recent meetings, that we read this article, right, of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, saying this was the whole tenor. Thank you, Jayadev, for sharing the verse here. This was the whole tenor of the preaching of Saraswati Thakur. Try to understand. This is here and we are here. This is above and we are below. So this is so important. You know, I had some discussion about this with Jayadev recently. You know, and it's something very difficult for persons to understand when they come to Krishna consciousness. That, you know, this is nothing to do with anything that we've known before. You know, this is something else. You know, this is not where we sit and, you know, share and pull together our ideas, or like, I like how Chiri Kumar says, you know, round table, you know, round table style. No, this is not that. You know, whatever we know, whatever we've collected from our experience of the knowledge of this world, it's not that. Right. And this is also partly why, like, a lot of the Vedas and their system is preparing us, like this whole neti. It's not this, it's not this, it's not this. Like that, like there's a positive expression of that. Like understanding, like, this isn't another level, this is something else, you know. So I know you know all of these things, Tungavasa, but I'm just, you know, discussing the point here. So if we're hearing that the cowherd boys of, you know, if we hear the Braja Gopis have calm, have lust, then what does that mean? We first have to understand that's not the lust of this world. Krishna is described as Kama Rupa. He's the embodiment of lust, of calm. So what does that mean? That's not the mundane lust of this world. So if we hear that the cowherd boys of Vrindavan are curious, why do we want to drag that down to the curiosity of our dictionary? This is something else. You know, it is all part of the Leela of Krishna. It is all enhancing the divine play of Krishna. Then what Krishna likes to be the hero, Krishna likes to rescue his devotees. So everything there, it is based on the spirit of dedication. It is all moving in that flow. Everything, this is a prakrita. This is the danger of what is a prakrita. It appears to be mundane, but it's not. It's a dangerous area. This is another reason why this is hidden, right? We're hearing this word, right? Guyatamam, guya, it is hidden. This is another reason. Because you have to reach a certain level of qualification, for a certain level of purity of heart, to be able to appreciate this. Otherwise, a prakrita. So many people in this world, like many Indian persons, if you tell them you worship Krishna, they'll say, oh, Krishna's a very immoral guy. How can you worship him? I've come across a number of Indians who have that view. Like, do you know how many girlfriends Krishna has? So this is the danger of a prakrita. No, it is appearing to be mundane. It is mirroring the human plane, human-like. It is not human, but is appearing human. So it is something we always have to keep at the forefront when we come to hear these topics. That's the beginning, the first thing that should be in our mind. This is something else, So Krishna, he likes to be the hero. He likes to save his devotees, right? So by the cowherd boys going into the belly of that demon, they're giving Krishna a chance to come and rescue them. This is actually all part of their divine play, divine exchange of love. So we have to remember everything there's moving on the basis of lila. There's no real necessity there. It is all moving. It is all extra. It is all something more. It is all unnecessary. It is all play. It is all lila. So we always have to, and please forgive me for speaking strongly, but I feel strongly on this topic, and it's important, that we remember this point. And this is why Krishna consciousness can never be, the norm. Although Bhaktivinoda Thakur has made some predictions, but generally speaking, the common mass, they can never appreciate this because there's no relative point to their existence. It has nothing to do with the happenings of this world. It is a plane categorically beyond our own concocted existence at present. So, God is not the person who's going to supply bread on our table, and let's get beyond that. Let's go. Of course, he will and he does, but this is something so much more than that. This is where we're putting bread on God's table. That's our program. We're here to supply to him. We're here to take care of him. And yeah, as Jai is saying, it's useless to what are you going to do with these teachings? They're not going to help you become more successful in this world. Can rather be the opposite. But they are helping you to gain immeasurably in the plane of soul. Okay. I've totally lost it. Are we running out of the battery? The battery, yeah. Okay, well, we're pretty much out of. We're finished now, so we're gonna drain the car battery here. Thank you all so much for this wonderful opportunity to discuss these high teachings. I hope that was that struck you in the right way, Tungarasa.
Yes, it's very nice. Yes, we can discuss later.
Yeah, we can discuss more another time too. Okay, well, what verse starting for next week? Well, I suppose we could move on to 3 for next week. So chapter 9, verse 3. Yeah. Okay, well, Dandavat Pranams to all of you, wishing you all a wonderful week ahead, and look forward to next week. I think next week may be our last meeting before we go on hold. Is it? No, maybe we have 2 more weeks, maybe. Yeah, we have 2 more weeks, yeah. Okay. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Glory to the assembled Bodhi. Jai Srila Bhakti
Krishna.
Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai. All the assembled devotees and sincere seekers ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai.
Jai. Thank you for your association. Thank you for your association.
Thank you.
Pitaka Didi ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai. Jai. Jai.
Thank you.